baby. Come on, give me that waist, my sweet deal. When you chocolate, bless my baby. Let me freak all you by way, baby. I've been reading you. Chill that cup, people. I can't believe I'm feeling you. Girl, anything you want to do, we can. I not break up with Carolina. Cause I wanna be a lover.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're watching us from, you're back here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yale, and I'm bringing you episode 10, season 3 of the Hard Zone. And as always, guys, I would like to encourage you to please follow the network. That is the Liberia Radio and Television Network, or LRTN Live on Facebook, and the Liberia Radio and Television Network on YouTube. And also, I'd like to encourage you, and also I would like to encourage you to please share the program on your individual social media pages. If you can do that for us, that we will surely appreciate that. And again, this is the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Yale, and as you know, here on the Hard Zone, there's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. And here we feature a team of panelists from different political institutions, different political persuasions. And this panel comes with different styles in discussing national issues. And just by way of disclaimer, all of the opinions offered by our panelists are not that of the network, but those are opinions of the individual panelists that will be offering them. And as always, I would like to firstly get us the current event that we have in our current event folder for this episode. Beginning with the diaspora, former U.S. President Donald J. Trump, was indicted on federal charge, and former President Trump was accused of mishandling classified document after he stepped down as the U.S. president in early 2021, and he continued to keep them at his at his private estate. Former U.S. president was arraigned or had charges against him formally read in court this week in a district court in Miami, Florida, on Wednesday, June 13. And just by way of history, it marked the very first time an ex-U.S. president being federally charged, even though he pleaded not guilty. And also more stay in the diaspora folder, moving on to neighboring country in Africa. Kenyan President William Samoa Ruto, he urges African nations to shift away from US dollar in intra-continental trade. So that is trade between African countries. He urging African nations to back up from using US data. And he made that remark in a recent address at the Djibouti Parliament. And coming on to Liberia, we have in our folder here the U.S. government launches a $20 million food security project in Liberia this week. In Kakata, Magibi County, United States Agency for International Development, or USAID for short, Mission to Liberia has officially launched the Liberia Food Security, Nutrition, and Resilience Project in Liberia. And this development is being read from the front page Africa newspaper. And before we read our next current event or development we have here, I would like to introduce our panelists for this episode, and then I will introduce the next development we have here in our current event folder, and have our panelists briefly discuss this current event. So I'd like to have our panelists on the screen, beginning with you, Mr. J. Mawolo. Thank you and welcome to episode 10, season 3 of the Hard Zone.
Well, thank you, and thank you to the viewing audience and listening audience, wherever you may be. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. And I want to say thank you for tuning in, and I hope we can all share our ideas, learn from each other, have an open mind to learn from each other and know what's going on in our country. We all seek the betterment of our country, I would assume, and so let us be factual to help our people who might not know better to at least have a view of what can be and what there is to be in this world. Thank you, and let's get this thing going.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ja and Jay Mawolo. Now let me come to you, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. Welcome to episode 10, season 3 of the Hot Zone.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Mauro, Blue Jays of Liberia. Welcome, guys. um, this is about Liberia, so I'm happy to talk about Liberia all the time. For the sake of Liberia, we need for Liberia to improve as the oldest country in Africa to show that we are really the oldest country. So let's do it, guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. It's a pleasure to have you here as always. Now let me come to you, Blow J Choppy Charlie. Welcome to yet another episode of the Hot Zone.
Yes, it's always good to be here. Uh, Talking to you again from rural part of Liberia.
Thank you very much, Blow J Choppy Charlie. And for our current event that I would like for us to discuss is one that involve integrity and also involve the rule of law being followed, and also it happened on one of the highest institution of learning in Liberia. I'm sure you guys have been following this because this has been making rounds in our newspaper and also on social media. That is the issue with Alamatu Nuri Hutchinson and Ebenezer Wilson from the laws or the University of Liberia or Louis Arthur Graham Law School. So I'll let for you to briefly talk about this and reading the statement from the president of the University of Liberia, Dr. Julia Sawolo Nelson. He said that there is insufficient evidence to revoke the law degree of Alamatu Nuri Hutchinson and Ebenezer Wilson, who recently graduated from the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law and made allegation that they fraudulently changed some grade to secure their slot in the 103 convocation. And as you may know here, and I'm reading this from the front page Africa, prior to the 103rd convocation, students Hutchinson and Wilson were accused of bribing the secretary of the assistant professor at law at the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law, Councillor Francis Johnson Allison. I'm sure you guys have been following this development. So, without going any further in the news article, I would like to bring that to your attention and talk to us what you know about this development, what you think about the issue of integrity, especially in our educational sector, and this coming from one of the highest institutions of learning in Liberia, and also as far as the rule of law is concerned in Liberia. So let me start with you on this one. Blow your choppy Charlie. Talk to us about this development.
Am I audible? Okay, fine. Well, I think this situation exposes three different things in Liberia. One, it exposes the intellect of people who have been jurists in Liberia. I'm talking about Francis Johnson Morris or Alice herself, who have served as former, I think she was Chief Justice in Liberia, and then she was Elections Commissioner. Then the second thing, it also exposes the crippled educational system in Liberia. And then third, it also exposed the process in Liberia that is used to do these things, especially the educational process. So when I'm talking about the educational process, it is not clear whether a student who fail in one subject cannot graduate, because from the look of this thing, it's only said that only this course that these students fail from Francis Johnson Murray disqualify them from graduating. So it's not clear. The school or the Madam herself is not saying anything very clear. But it doesn't appear to me that somebody would not graduate for one course. But then secondly, coming to the Madam herself, there's no clear picture that after these students failed, she communicated with the school or whatever, or she even made promise. It was only when somebody enlightened her from her own story, when somebody else called from Liberia to say that these people have bribed and will not be graduating. That's when she decided to respond. So it seems that if she did not get that call or that report was not made by other students, she wouldn't have even raised the alarm. So then the question again, like I said, the process. And then the school itself, uh, uh, the academic process itself should have its own internal means of reporting on students' activity. So the whole thing is not very clear to me, and I hate to agree with the university president, especially we know that the school system is corrupt, and I'm sure these students may have actually bribed their way through, not just that subject alone, but many other subjects. But from the look of things, there doesn't appear to be sufficient evidence against these students or sufficient evidence for even the university to make a determination that they should not graduate. That's just my view.
Thank Thank you very much, Bloody Choppy Charlie. Now let me take your opinion, Mr. Jarwin, and we talk to us about this development.
Um, I think Roger says something, but let me be on that. Here in the United States, for example, like before you graduate from college, you, you got sorry about that guy. You gotta meet certain credits. So I don't know what is the system they have in Liberia there. You got to meet certain credit to graduate. So prior to graduation, all the professors, you got to pass all your courses, because if you fail one course, it means that you did not complete your credits. So I don't know the exact situation in Liberia, but from looking at things, all higher learning all institutional higher learning, I think uh, all colleges have a requirement that you got to meet certain credit before you graduate or you complete a certain course. So I don't know how they came to the decision of making certain students to graduate without getting clearance from the other professors about other courses. I don't know how it is doing in Liberia. So as Blonji said, that means that we really have problem in our country. Down to the University of Liberia. If the University of Liberia, which is the higher institution, cannot really put in place a system to determine the process of graduation, then there's a real problem. Then we really need to work on the entire learning process in Liberia. Um, that is not a university alone. Broje talked about people bribing their way. It is none of us here have proof about that, but looking at what is happening in Liberia from ABC to 12th grade to the university level, even admission at the university, one has to do that one way or the other. So this is not political. Uh, we want the best for our country. We hope the University of Liberia will do better so that Liberia will be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let me stay with you and Bloody before I take you. Am I am I on? Yeah. Okay. I muted myself for a second. I'm sorry. Yeah, but let me ask you and Bloody a question. Though. I don't know because Bloody stated that he agrees with the president of the university that there is not sufficient evidence to revoke the degree of those students. Now, what about the in one of the interview, Councillor Allison said that both students have failed her legal ethics and children law course or children law course, and she also said that they used her assistant to change the grade while she was in the United States. Now, could that be like a reason to at least do further investigation into seeing as to if those degrees should be revoked? And I just want to get your opinion again, Bloje, and you can also take a stab at that. But before Bloje, do you agree with the decision of the university president to not that there is not sufficient evidence to revoke those student laws degree? 30 seconds, Mr. Weir.
Well, I don't know what he means by that. As I said, like you got to every school have credit. that you got to complete before you can graduate. So if one professor come out to say that you did not pass, then it means that that student did not complete the credit. So I don't know what evidence the president is looking for, because
Mhm.
if you are
Yeah,
teaching a certain course
right.
and if you are teaching a certain course, if this particular student failed that course, because that course
Mm.
count for part of the credit. So if you were to make maybe 35 credit, or I don't know what they require. So if your credit is count for two credits, even if it be one credit, if you fail that, you fail, in my opinion.
Right, right.
So
So
one
yeah,
professor,
so
yes, indeed.
thank you very much. Yes, thank you for and that and in line with your statement. Let me ask Bloody this, and you outrightly agrees with the University of Liberia president to not revoke those student degree. But here in an interview, the professor admitted that those students failed her course and they needed that course to graduate. And her assistant even admitted that, according to the news article I'm reading, her assistant admitted that to the Crime Series Division of the Liberian National Police. But you're here agreeing with the university president. So talk to us more on that. Do you think that should be a reason to at least reconsider his decision?
Yeah, the reason why I'm saying, again, like I said, that I strongly believe that the world, robbery, because that's almost like a norm in this situation in Liberia. But in terms of the evidence, I'm looking at the facts. The professor claim or alarm she has risen is after the fact. And I'm saying if you raising this alarm after the fact where she's only been able to come up because she got in a light from somebody else, then there was no process there available. Because by right as a professor, there should have been a process available that or grade should have gone through. Well, or even that situation where she's not even blaming us or assisting. So I'm saying that it doesn't appear to be a kind of clear process, that how student grades come up. Because if you conducted your test and everything, I'm so before she was left from a road from Liberia, she was going on a visit. She should have submitted all her grades, send everything, all her student stuff and everything, so that the school can have it. But she didn't do that. I don't know what's the requirement. So I'm saying that the process itself, the whole administration of grading, procedure, submitting grades and all, doesn't appear to be very credible. And so in that sense, I'm assuming that once these other people, her assistant, did that thing, the university went through the process, fixed everything. On graduation day, a day before graduation, they come and raise that argument, say that people should not graduate. I don't think there's sufficient time, sufficient evidence to say no. Let's revoke the people graduation because it's very late.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
but yeah, I disagree when you say it is late. So why if they fail her course and somebody clandestinely maybe submitted it and she came out to say that is if you
Yeah,
teach,
I'm saying to you that the timing, because it was almost like I think 2 days
it
or
doesn't matter
three
the
days
timing though. When
before.
the time you
Mr.
recognize,
Listen,
William,
listen,
Mr. William and
listen.
Brogy, let me hold you
Two
guys
or three
one
days before
second.
graduation day, the program already, all the program, the machinery, everything is set in place, right? The person to
Okay.
graduate, and then you coming from you way in abroad saying, "Oh, I got this information that this thing happened." So I'm saying that
Mm.
before graduation day, just within a two few days, what happened to the system that should have already had that information in you as a professor? What happened to that system? So for the school to just immediately revoke somebody, there has to be a thorough investigation. I mean, I'm again, like I'm saying, I don't dispute that such a thing occur, but there has to
Brogy,
be all of the facts put into place.
I will come back to you on that, Brogy, but let me take Mr. Mawolo opinion on this, and then I will come back to you with a question, Brogy. Go ahead, Mr. Mawolo.
I've always said, and I continue to say, if we will fight any other war in Liberia, it will be because of these false degrees that people are getting. LU and the proliferation of colleges in Liberia When you look at the human resource of the country, can they afford all those amount of teachers, quality teachers, for that amount of that number of colleges in the country? That country, I reckon to argue no. They got people graduating from LU and teaching 400 level courses at LU. Really, can a graduate, a recent graduate, teach 400 level course? That means the quality. And I've seen some of their writings, some of their papers. These people can't write at a high school level, and they're graduating. So that's the next word that will come. You have told people that they qualify, and when they dare to compete with other people, they can't compete, and so they feel that you're overlooking them to take another person. But the truth is that they're not qualified. I know a lady in this place. She's never been to LU once, but she managed to get a degree from there and went to Australia and got a master's. You understand? That's the kind of thing they've been doing. So, of Blowjay, I'm sure you went to college. The process of gathering your grades to go for graduation is not one test you took. It's a succession of grades that you have made. How then can a university say there is no proof? If these people have passed the course, why would the teacher not want them to pass? I can almost assume what happened was that when the lady told them that they were failing, and if they fail her course, she won't graduate. They must have had some connection and say, "I will." And that's why, whilst abroad, when somebody told her these children are graduating, they just gave them their gowns, she thought to contact the school and
Right.
make it clear that these children shouldn't. I can almost assume that what happened, because there is no way the teachers. There's several there's a midterm exam. There are four different tests they took to get to that final point. And if they fail her course all along, and say for example their grade was D or F, they're not supposed to be graduating. The dean of admissions supposed to know. He's supposed to have control of his office. So if they got people in there taking bribe to change people's grades, the teacher did her job. It is the school, if they mean quality for the students that are graduating, to stop them. But no, they want them to graduate. And like I said, my assumption seems more and more right that the president of the university coming out and saying there's no enough proof. How can there not be enough proof? Did they look at the four tests that they took to get to that point? Did they pass that course at all? So what other proof were you
How
looking
will you
for?
even call for proof
Whether
on the proof
it was
when
one
teacher
day
say you
before
don't
or
pass?
10 days before they fail the course, they fail the course. So that the president of the LU should be fired for that. Just for that. Just for even saying that. So I mean that tells me there's no system. And when you graduating law school graduates, just to add to what I'm saying, I went to the Supreme Court the other day. I see a guy who is accredited Supreme Court lawyer standing in front of the Chief Justice, and his whole paper he presenting is full of grammatical errors. And while he's reading, the Chief Justice is correcting him and telling him you need to change that whole phrase and turn it to this, change that and turn it to this. This fool started trembling right in front of the woman. I said to myself, how could this guy ever be accredited to be a lawyer, a counselor at law? The man stood there in front of the Chief Justice. He was trembling until the paper fell from his hand. That's the quality of people they're putting out there. That's the quality. And I think that's why the professor wanted to keep her department sane and call the dean of admissions who had stopped those children from graduating,
That's correct.
regardless of who connected to them. And I think it was because their connection, they allowed them to. But I think she was absolutely right by doing what she wanted. If I was she, I would resign. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mao, according to the president though, that he or his office did not receive any official complaint from Councillor Allison that could justify
He's
withholding
not
No,
the
the.
no,
one to receive the complaint. It's the dean of admission
it's
that's
a, it's
supposed to receive the
what you
complaint.
call complaint. It's about it's your grades. You submit your grades. So if he
No,
can testify,
I was going to ask you because he said not receiving an official complaint, and he also emphasized that uh protecting the rights of the faculty and staff at the university is equally important too to safeguard the rights of students. My question to you: does that justify his
No,
position? Because
it does not. Because first thing is that when you see him arguing that point, he trying to be administratively cunning because he know the time frame in which the woman found out and called the school and try to make sure that those children don't graduate. Had no time to go through the dean of admission, then send a letter to him for him to receive it and act on it in that frequency of time. So he knew it wouldn't have happened. Either
thank
way,
you, thank you,
the children were going to be allowed. So he is wrong. If the dean of
thank you,
admission got all the grades before the date, before they even certify these children for graduation, it should have been
they would
corrected then.
they would have
So
put
the
it on
dean of
hold until the
admission problem.
investigation.
thank you very much, Mr. Mawolo. Now let's recognize the presence of Reverend Addy. Well, Reverend Addy, thank you for joining us. We were talking
Greetings,
about
everyone.
the. Thank
How
you.
you doing, Harry?
Welcome to episode 10, season 3 of the Hard Zone. Now let me bring this conversation to you. I know you've been listening. We're talking about the situation with Alamantu Hutchison and Ebenezer Wilson, who recently graduated from the Louis Arthur Grant School of Law and made allegation that they fraudulently changed some grade to secure their slot in the graduation ceremony. Now, the president of the University of Liberia said that there isn't sufficient information, sufficient evidence to provoke or to stop them from graduating, or let alone revoke their degree. So we're getting our panelists' opinion on that subject matter. So you can please share with us briefly your thoughts on that development.
Well, yeah, I heard this story. I just didn't bother to read it. But the first question I like to ask myself, are these people trying to graduate officials of the government? Are they seditionists? For them to boldly insist that they ought to graduate, thus compromising the professionalism of a renowned instructor who is a bedrock to the producer of lawyers in our country. So that's the first two questions I want to ask. What is the relationship? I know Samuel Tuer brother is, I think, the dean of something, or the administrator of the university there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, of administration. So I'm curious to know who are these people, because Jefferson Koji graduated with very high marks, but he didn't, rumor has it that he didn't sit in class. So I'm just wondering whether or not CDC intends to just break this country down at all levels, to include the fact that an instructor will resign on the basis of principle. The Louis Arthur Grant School of Law is one of the best legal institutions we have in the region. So that reality needs to be investigated, just to make sure that the system is not being influenced because of money and power.
Thank you very much, Reverend Addy, and that is all the time we have for that discussion, ladies and gentlemen. That was the discussion on our current events. We'll take a very brief break. When we come back, we will get right into talking about the CPP standard bearer, Alexander Benedict Cummings, touring southeastern Liberia. So when we come back from our break, we will get right into talking about that. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're here on the Hard Zone. You're watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. I'm the moderator here tonight. My name is Derek Yale. And as always, I like to encourage you to please follow the network on Facebook and YouTube. And also, please share the program on your individual social media pages. And if you're watching us, please leave us your feedback and your contribution to our discussion in the comment section, and we will be sure to highlight them throughout the show. If you were with us, our current event, we talk about the situation at the University of Liberia. We got our panelists' opinion on that. So for now, we'd like to transition into the CPP camp. Just a few days ago, we saw the standard bearer and political leader of the collaborating political party, Mr. Alexander Cummings, in Maryland, and he made a Facebook post where he, for the first time in his life, he had to travel through a neighboring country, Ivory Coast, to enter Maryland. And we also see a few hours ago we saw him in River G County. So our conversation will be strictly based on CPP standard bearer touring southeastern Liberia. So we're getting momentum out of that, and we will have our panelists give you their opinion on CPP being the southeastern region of Liberia. So let's have our panelists back and let me hear them out on this discussion. I would like to start with you, Mr. Jab and J. Mawula. If there's one better person on this panel to talk about that, it will be you. So let me start with you. Talk to us about Alexander Cummings joining or his activities in the southeastern region of Liberia. We saw him. I saw a video of him dancing and having a really good time. So talk to us about that
Uh,
tour so
it,
far.
it was a wonderful trip. Cummins was supposed to make this trip since 2021 when they sued him, when they had him in court for 6 months. He was getting prepared for this trip when that court case came out. And so everything stalled since then. But he wanted to make this trip anyhow. Normally he goes there through Nimba, Grand Jide, and then up to Kipamas. But it just couldn't happen this time. The road is broken. There's no way to get there. So he had to go through Ivory Coast. Went through Ivory Coast. As you can know, it would cost a lot more to travel through Ivory Coast and get back into Liberia. But that's what they had to do. The welcome was overwhelming. It was so overwhelming that it was beyond his expectation. And he got teary eyed to see the people standing in the rain, hundreds of people standing in a pouring rain waiting for him at the border between Ivory Coast and Liberia. So I think the whole trip was successful. He met with the old people. He went to inform them of his intent to contest and for their blessings. And they gave him both. So then he went on to River G, where he did the same. And then he had press conferences with the different press groups and had town hall meeting with different groups. And so the whole trip was successful. He's right now back in the Abidjan, and they're on their way back to Liberia. And so that's what it is. But the whole trip was very fruitful and rewarding, very, very extremely successful. And it was good that he made the trip. And the people are happy. He is happy. And we'll come back to Morovia to start the grind. He will be back there in August. But until
He'll
then,
be back in Maryland or River G?
yeah, in the Maryland, in the southeast area in August.
The southeast area. Okay. So
Yeah.
I heard you talk about the reception in Maryland County. What about River G? And
River G, the
was that his
reception
first
was
time in River G?
equally
I'm
as
not quite sure.
enthusiastic. In
Equally as
River G, it
enthusiastic.
was equally as enthusiastic.
Okay, thank you. Now let me take the other panelists before I come back to you with more question. Now let me get you, Mr. Jai Winkin. We are talk to us about Alexander Cummings touring the southeastern region and also how he got to Maryland through Ivory Coast, and also talk about the reception Mr. Jim Maolo just alluded to. Mr. Jai Winkin, we are.
Well, thank you. I think it is the responsibility of all those contesting for the presidency of Liberia to meet all Liberians wherever they are. Unfortunately, it is sad to hear that he has to pass through Africa Coast to get to the other part of Liberia. That is disgraceful because this current administration has been bragging of being the real menacing. But having said that, coming is from the southeast, so probably, in my opinion, it was too late to have gone at this time. You should have done that ever since he intended to run for the presidency of Liberia. But he did that already. Liberians are looking for true leaders, not only the president. And what I can say about his visit is that I did not see most of the photos. I didn't follow, so I can comment more. But the election is right in the corner, so let's see what the Liberian people say about who will be elected president comes October 10, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Weir. And let me stay with you and ask you this specifically on what you said about his trip to Maryland County specifically was too late. You say it's not timely or it was too late. Do you care to talk more about that? Why do you think it was too late for
Well,
him to have
I think I think he's from Maryland, and if you are a child, if you intend to do anything, you discuss that with your parents before you even go to other strangers. That's what I said. That about
okay.
perhaps I haven't heard. Maybe he did it before. Mr. Marlowe said he decided earlier to go, but he was in court. But it was not his first time to contest the presidency of Liberia. He has been campaigning of becoming president for the country. So I think Maryland is a base, as we say here in the United States. So it should have been somewhere that he can, whether that was going to require you to even fly, but he should make sure that he gets to the people in Maryland to talk to them about his desire to run for president.
So yeah, I know. Let me ask you another question though, and I have to ask you this. I know the guy you support, Councilor Gonglo, did a nationwide tour. Was Maryland included in that tour?
Yes. He
Okay, so now
visited.
my question is, go ahead.
Yes. So Gonglo visited the southeast. At one point, he spent days, night, wherever the night met him there, where he slept. That's what he did.
Okay, so how would
He
you how would you compare the turnout as far as the numbers of people that show up for him and Cummins, and also the reception there? I understand that Cummins is from Maryland County, but how would you compare both turnouts?
Well, as I say, I don't see Cummins is turned out yet, so I will not compare. But in the case of Mine Kennedy, Councillor Gonglo, he didn't only stop in the capital cities of the various counties. He went to villages and slept in the villages, and even getting on a canoe and did a lot of stuff, helping the people to do a lot of things. So I think he's the only candidate that have already visited all the 15 counties in Liberia. Our target was visiting the 134 administrative districts. So probably he's back now in Liberia from the States, and that will continue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's just stay in the CPP camp. So I don't want you talking more, but we'll get to Council Gonglo or Tori, but let's stay in the CPP camp. Well, thank you very
Can I
much,
make
Mr.
one correction before we go?
If you can hold that until I take Reverend Addy, and then I'll come back to you, please.
No,
Reverend
I
Addy,
beg you,
talk to us about.
let him make a correction, please. If you, I'm willing to let him make his correction.
Okay,
please.
Reverend Addy is willing to allow you to make your correction. Go ahead.
No, I told Yahweh, I want you to know it's not his first time going to Palmas. I'm just saying that he had planned to go there to meet the people when they had him in court. So, as you know, Cummings traveled with an entourage. To carry all these people, it takes planning. And then, because of the delay of the court, it conflicted the whole schedule. So then they had to rearrange the schedule. Now that things are back into place, and he said he's going to be there in August, he's going to be there in August, rain or shine, whichever way. But when the schedule got conflicted, then he had to rearrange his schedule to be there because, as you know, it got to be coordination with the people in Morovia and the people in Kepamas and all of that. And we've been working on that for months for your information.
Thank you, thank you very much. And Corey, permit me to speak for you, Mr. Weir. So, I think along with Mr. Weir comment, I think the point he was driving at is take for instance when Cummings accepted the standard bearer of the CPP, and that should have been done in Maryland because that's where he's from, and in Mr. Weir's word, he should have consulted his elders from Maryland.
Didn't you see the elder gathering in Morovia? Didn't you see the elder gathering in Morovia?
Also, they came to Monrovia instead. I'm just okay. All right. Exactly. That was Mr. Weir points anyway. I was just trying to build up on that. But let me take you now, Reverend Adi.
Well, I think the visitation was good. The turnout was awesome. But others are saying, why is Mr. Cummings flying to Ivory Coast, entering his hometown?
Let's allow Reverend Adi to go ahead. And he can make the correction when he's done. Go ahead, Reverend Adi.
Thank you for the correction. Why is he entering via Ivory Coast? But Councillor Gonglo used the very road to go to Maryland to see the very people. So that's one of the political chats or chattering that is happening now, has been represented by the Gonglo supporters. But that being said, from my personal observation, I think this is the genesis of campaign. And it is my hope that Mr. Cummings at this time in these elections will carry his own hometown as compared to the last election. So I'm certainly hoping that it turns out for his good. Thank you.
Well, again,
go ahead, Mr.
The first thing is that he didn't fly. He drove through Ivory Coast. Why he didn't
I accepted that correction.
Yeah, why he didn't go on the road? Because the road is broken. If you're going to go on the road, you got to be prepared to stay on the road a week. When Gonglo went, it was the dry season. Now it's the rainy season. He couldn't get through. He has been to Kipama several times by road, but this time they couldn't. So that's why they had to go through Ivory Coast.
Thank you very much. We have exhausted the time for this segment again. So we'll have to take a break, and when we come back, we will get right into talking about the rescue train. Who's on it? Is it still moving strong? Is it slowing down? Or has it come to a full stop? But let's take a very brief break. When we come back, we'll talk about that.
Hey there. Many Liberians are members of social clubs, 501c NGOs, and school alumni. Many Liberians are trying to open their own 501c NGOs, home care agencies, and social clubs. Does your organization have a professional website? Does your web platform have the right wording and content to attract grants? Hopefully you're not running your organization only through social media. There's a more professional route. You need an online space where you can craft a positive message about your organization, making your home health agency more credible, which will increase your chances to receive grants. We'll build you a responsive platform for 501c organizations, healthcare agencies, and other types of organizations. We'll provide you with full website maintenance, membership sign-in, private charts, Facebook and WhatsApp integration, live video feed for all your meetings and special occasions, a dashboard for members to see all the activities, and email and text auto reminders for meetings. We'll build with donors and 501c's in mind, and will help you solicit grants and automatic membership due collections. Building you this amazing platform will only be a membership fee of $19 a month. Call or email us now. Let's upgrade your website. home health agencies, and small businesses, you owe it to your company to project the best image possible, and we can make it happen. Visit www.tiamit.com or call 215-966-8679. Ask for Tommy.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're here on the Hard Zone, and we are continuing our discussion for the night. And we will get right into the Unity Party camp, and we'll get on the rescue train. But first, let me welcome you back. Leave us your contribution and participation on the conversation in the comment section, and please, as always, share the program on your individual social media pages. The words from the political leader of the Unity Party, Joseph Yamambuaka, he said, "Believe me, this country will be rescued. We're not here to play. I am prepared for this mission." He said that when he was thanking the people of District 14, 15, and 16 of Moserado County when he recently visited. But for now, let's talk about this rescue train that he is driving. Is it still moving? Is it still moving strong? Is it slowing down, or has it come to a full stop with the news of Telia Ure being out of the tag team? Let's have our panelists give you their opinion on this discussion real briefly. So the first panelist I would like to begin, let me have my panelists back on the screen before I ask Reverend Addy to give us his take on this development. Reverend Addy, the rescue train. Talk to us about that development, and also talk to us about the situation with Telia Ure.
Well, the rescue train is still in full force. Liberians are highly excited. They're jumping on it, as you would see that fear of this rescue train amassing a lot of support. The president had to go and petition senators to come show force as a political psychology to minimize the threat against the massive defection of those who are now endorsing the Honorable Joseph Boyka, as evidenced by Jefferson Koji threatening the transport minister for not cross-carpeting, because there's a massive fear that individuals within the government are recognizing that the wind of victory is blowing in the direction of the Honorable Joseph Imam Boyka, and on this train, which massive Liberians are clamoring to be a part. On the issue of Ms. Telia Ure, details are still unfolding. What I do know from the letter published is that she was replaced by Ms. Gono, who remains the new, who is now the new head or chairman of the tag team. Ms. Ure was thanked for her service. She's committed. So as details unfold, the public will know. I heard Ms. Ure was looking forward to responding to these recent developments. And hence, I'm waiting to hear what she has to say concerning the decision that was taken to have her. I don't know if she was removed or she resigned, but that needs to be clarified by her. Thank you.
So how did you know that she was replaced? Was there like a press statement from the Unity Party, or?
Oh yes, there is a letter. But there is a letter out there from the executive committee of the Joseph Imam Boyka tag team. No, they didn't state any reason.
Do you have any
reason? But they did thank her for the service.
Okay. Now let me ask you another question. Talk to us about Joseph Imam Boyka and Moserado tour. I have seen some comments on Facebook that the turnouts were very low. So talk to us about his tour in District 14, 11, 12, and District 16, as well as District 15. So how has that been? And reading here on his Facebook page that despite the heavy downpour of rain, people still turn out. So talk to us about that.
Well, Montserrat County is one of the biggest districts. Has most of the vote significantly. So make no mistake, the turnout, according to the comments that I read, was significantly plenty. People were very shocked because they were trafficking in the rumor that the Honorable Joseph Boyka will not participate in these elections, simply because Mr. Kuhn and Madam Kanga exuberantly and, hilariously tried to joke about his popularity and ability to win without even campaigning. But the number of people I saw were very impressive, compared to that of Maryland. Don't forget Monrovia harbors much of the vote. So I wouldn't juxtapose in comparison, whether or not people turn up for Mr. Cummings in the rain. Make no mistake that when we're nominating our VP, standard bearer, it was raining on that day, and thousands of Liberians took to the streets of the headquarters, and they shut it down, waiting for the VP to be, waiting for the vice standard bearer to be nominated. So on the issue of rain, certainly those crowds cannot be compared to who has been in the rain for some time. But the truth is, District 1415, in which Honorable Boyka went and visited with his citizens, soon to be their president, they were very excited to see him, and they waited to hear what he had to say, promising them that this country will be rescued in a matter of months when he takes office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Adi. Now let me take you, Mr. J. Ma will talk to us about the rescue train, the situation with Telia, you were in Osco, and also Jose Yimabwaka Mosurada tour.
Well, unfortunately, I don't let the issues of rescuing, I don't know what, occupy my time during the day. But from what I hear on the streets, they're becoming criminal. They're pushing people off the train while the train is running. And so we heard that some people are hospitalized and waiting to explain what happened in the accident. But listen, people are trying to justify that people stood out in the rain too, comparing all that kind of stuff. I think it's childishness. I think and they know that their programs in Maserati were poorly attended, poorly organized, and resisted at some point. But as it is now, everything is a competition, so we expect that. But this whole issue of Italia Ure and the Galapa Kotima issue and all of that, I think if the Unity Party people want to be fair to themselves, they better be very, very, very extremely careful with this issue because it could break them totally. I mean, they're just two big wars they're trying to fight at the same time, especially that they got no means. Then they got the issue with their headquarters and the court issuing that their properties be seized and all of that. They got to walk very carefully now. I mean, I don't wish bad for them. I won the competition, but at the rate they're going, they need to really watch their steps.
Thank you very much, Mr. J. Mawolo. I don't know if you have a rebuttal to that, but I do have questions on your comments based on
No,
his
I do have
comment
a
to you,
rebuttal.
Reverend Adi. I will come to you.
Mhm.
Let me take Mr. Weird or comments on the rescue train.
Because he's going, he can ask the question. But anyway, in my opinion, like it is not new, or it's not the first time for people to lead campaigns for personal reason or whatever reason. I think that is not, in my opinion, it's not a determinant to show whether the support for him it is declining because of the departure of one or two person from a specific position. Moreover, the reasons for departure are yet unknown. They could be for personal reason or for other reasons. Um, so I don't read much into that in terms of determining whether the support is decreasing or increasing. Regarding his tour in Monserrado County, I think it is fair to say that we are in raining season. Moreover, what I know when I was on the ground in Liberia, if you want a full turnout, you got to spend some money. You got to do thorough organization uh, including transportation, before you get a massive turnout from what I learned when I was in Liberia when we had that stuff. So this campaign for all those who are contesting, I don't want for all of or for anyone to read into one thing to assume that a specific or a particular candidate is weak or is going to win this election, because Liberians, in my opinion, are smarter than ever before. People are underestimating the judgment of Liberians who are surviving daily at the mercy of nature.
Thank you. Now I have to ask you this question very briefly, though. Do you agree with Mr. Mawolo when he said that the campaign or the Maserati tour of Ambassador Boaka was poorly organized, poorly attended, and are sometimes resisted? Do you agree or disagree with that?
That's what I'm just saying. Like in Liberia, like if you want real turnout, you really have to organize. That means you gotta do uh, good reach out, including the provision of transportation.
So was it?
Um,
So you agree it was poorly organized?
yeah, so it was not well organized because
Okay. Yeah. Uh,
Bwaka is projecting himself as a front runner, thinking that he's going to beat Weah. So he should whatever he does should be really done properly to befit what he's saying or what his supporters are saying about him.
thank you.
There
Thank you
should be
very much.
there should
Now
be
let me
no excuse.
thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jawinkin. Yeah. Now let me come back to you, Reverend Adi. Give us the rebuttal, but I want you to specifically respond to Mr. Mawolo when he said that he thinks that the tour of Ambassador Boaka was poorly attended, poorly organized, and at some point in time, or resisted, and also to a very specific comment he made. And correct me if I'm wrong, he urged or he warned or cautioned the Unity Party to watch their step very carefully. So respond to that.
Well, thank you so very much. So the last time I checked, the Honorable Cummings has been in Monrovia to all the different places campaigning. Unfortunately, he has yet to bring out the kind of crowd that Ambassador Boyka brought out the other day. So I wouldn't juxtapose or even dare explore that issue of poor crowd. Every time we turned around in Monrovia, Mr. Cummings was going to different places in Monrovia, but hasn't yet generated the crowd necessary to bring traction to his campaign. Thank God for Ms. Pumpskin, who has about just given him some life towards that issue. As far as poor planning, Mr. Cumming, who has planning, organized an entire rally at Tire Suffering. And I was one of those who supported that rally, but that rally was also poorly attended. And the speech made was not attractive in any way, shape, or form. So these campaigns have started. I wouldn't, judge anybody concerning their capacity to bring out the crowd. President George Weah also just had his 40 to 56 endorsements, depending on who you listen to or what you read. And quite frankly, his crowd didn't fill up the football stadium, considering the fact that he is an incumbent. Let it be very clear, it is not childish to make comparison when in fact one is suggesting that their crowd was bigger than the other people's crowd, or intending to downplay other people's crowd. But then when you make the comparison, then it becomes childish. No, it's not childish. It's the fact. It's the fact that Mr. Cummings have had some difficulty gaining traction. And that is why one of my friends I talked to, in as much as I tried to refrain from criticizing Mr. Cummings, show me the new name, the acronym ANC, Alexander Not Coming. While I certainly disagree with that, because I know I will need Mr. Cummings, the party will need Mr. Cummings in the second round, hopefully if there be any, for his support. So we will not be criticizing our opposition, but certainly not allow them to denigrate our political assets and vision and policies we have in store for this country. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. Let me take everybody before. Go ahead.
Listen, it becomes amusing when people try to, you know, we're not. If you watch closely, we're not following what you guys know to be your so-called Liberian politics. We're changing the political dynamics of this country. When Mr. Cummings is around Morovia, he's not going to crowd to draw crowd. He speaks to small groups. When he went to Kepamas, where he is not always, you saw the crowd that gathered. When they went to Bikeno, on a situation that they don't do all the time, you saw the crowd that gathered. But when we're in Morovia, we speak to small groups. The crowd don't show nothing. It don't show anything. So if that's all you're doing your thing for crowds, then you're losing. Because we don't care about
Well,
the
you
crowd.
made it about
We're
crowds when you
speaking
went to
to
Maryland.
the people. We're speaking to the people in small groups. Now, Jawiken, the whole foundation of your expose on Talia Ewe was wrong. Talia Ewe didn't leave. They push her out and inform her later. That's where the problem is. It's not that she
That's not
resigned. They push her out.
Okay.
You see? So
okay.
that's where the problem is. And so, Mr.
Okay.
Ade, the CPP is not in competition with you. We're way ahead. You can catch up if you try. But we're not in competition with you at all. Worry about Mr. Cummings getting traction. And we will see what happens in October 10th.
Thank you. Let me stay with you though, because you kind of. I mean, I started the crowd conversation, but you talking about, I think, to explain Cummings not getting crowd on in Maserado County, that he met up with small groups. So
No, I didn't say that. Get
okay,
it
yeah,
straight.
help me understand that.
I didn't say he's not better. He's better with small group. I say our
No, no.
purpose in Maserado,
Okay.
we go around meeting small groups. We're not looking to gather big crowds in one places. We go to small groups.
Are you trying? That's your explanation for the low turnout? Is that
Where there was
in
no low
Maserado?
turn up.
Okay, now so let me. So let,
What,
I was just because
which low turn up you talking
no,
about on
because
the?
I'm trying to
The,
balance the other.
the thing he mentioned was a retired suffering rally. Retired suffering rally, the turnout was low because of several factors. Where even the people who supposed to be opposition were fighting us, where the government was fighting us, where the government were threatening people, where the government announced that we were trying to bring war in the absence of the president. So it scared a lot of people who didn't show up. That was the only way. But retired suffering was not about CPP. It was about the Liberian people expressing to the world what they were tired with. They didn't show up, but you will listen in all their speeches that they make around. When they get annoyed, they say, "We tired suffering in this place." So if they were tired suffering, if I mean, the same thing happened. Used to happen on LU campus. Every time there's an election and Soup know they will lose, they were threatening that they will bring so much trouble, the soldiers will cross the street. And so most of the people from Sim won't show up because they're so afraid of getting hurt, and then Soup will go on to win. So that's the same kind of situation they brought over there. And that's why the attendance was low. Though a lot of people went, but the amount of people that were expected didn't show up just because of the different fights that were brewing in different places.
So okay, let me come back. I don't know if you have or rebuttal on Reverend Addy, but do
Always
you
do,
have a
always
rebuttal?
do, always do.
Okay, go
Yes,
ahead.
yes. So you know, I kind of like the explanation. Now we know that Cummings is meeting with small groups,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite hilarious because those were one of the reasons why people are concerned. People like my friend, Mr. Victor Taylor, he asked me to call his name, Victor Taylor, who is, who has just gotten so disappointed that there is no traction in the city. that has one of the largest segment of our voting population
But let
as
him
well,
join
County.
you.
But there is no traction, and it was from him that I learned the name ANC. Alex not coming. I mean, I do believe that Alex is coming because he will be in these elections,
But why didn't you tell
But the
him
truth
that?
remains. But the truth,
But no, Reverend, go
the,
ahead, Reverend
the
Eddie.
truth remains that as far as Monrovia is concerned, Alex isn't coming. But in Maryland, it is my hope that Alex will come. At least this time around, win his own county
Let, let
for a
me
difference.
let me get you a
Before before
So
statistic.
before you give that statistic, so I don't want you. I want you to respond to something very specific that Reverend Adi said earlier. He
Mm.
said your VSB, the Vice Senator Bearer, Charlene Bronskin, brought life to your campaign. So in other words, that she has helped since she joined. Has that brought like
Who,
more
who,
turnout for you, especially in Montreal
said
County? I
who
I
said
just
that?
want you to respond. Yeah,
No,
Reverend
no,
Adi here.
okay, fine. I I asked you who said that so I can demonstrate to you the irony in his speech. The same man who says Charlene brought traction say his friend left because there was no traction. So which one are we to believe? Listen,
good, good.
yes,
All right, so let me answer
Charlene,
that. Let me answer that.
Charlene, yeah, I know you would say he left before Charlene came, right? Charlene,
Let me answer that.
Let me conclude because we.
Charlene, Charlene, that's the whole purpose of choosing. That what is the first decision a presidential candidate would make, choosing your VSB. So they see this that they got to be defending all the time, and they see ours who is bringing the traction. So yes, she brings a lot of traction, and we're happy about that. And that's what she was choosing in the first place.
Thank you
Right, and
very
the,
much.
and
Thank you,
and the interesting thing is BSB don't win
Reverend Adi,
elections. It's the
Reverend Adi.
president.
Reverend Adi, I would love to take your rebuttal, but we have exhausted the time again
That's
for
fine.
this segment. We talk about the rescue train, and thank you guys for your contribution. And those of you watching us, thank you again for staying with us for this segment. We will now take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will talk about over 50% of our legislature endorsing the president for his re-election. So let's take a very brief break, and when we come back, we will get into that conversation.
At Fatu's, we know what it's like to feel a little homesick. That's why we work hard to bring you the very best and freshest imported foods and supplies from home. With quality design African cloths, beauty supplies, and tasty African food items, you'll feel right at home. So what are you waiting for? Stop by Fatu's African International Market for all of your household and family needs. See you soon.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching the Hard Zone on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. My name is Derek Yale. Now, let me bring you our next discussion and bring you words from the president of Liberia at an endorsement ceremony. The president of Liberia, President George Manuel Weah, lauded himself and his government, claiming it to be the best government since Liberia gained independence in 1847. And he went further to say the Liberian people have agreed with this government that it is the best since 1847. So that is the conversation we will be having because at this endorsement ceremony, over 50% of the Liberia legislature endorsed the current president for his re-elections, or as some could have it, they reaffirmed their support for President Weah. So we'll have our panelists bring you their views on this endorsement as over 50% of their lawmakers endorsing the president. Does that show that this president is actually doing well since his election, or what does it really tell the voting population in Liberia? But before I ask the panelists for their views, let me encourage you again, please, to continue to share the program on your Facebook and you continue to share the program on your individual social media pages, and please follow the network on Facebook and YouTube as well. So yeah, guys, President Weah, he got over 50% of the legislature endorsement. And looking back in 2017, I think it was 35 that supported him, and he won that election. So, what does this development mean for the opposition community? What does it say of the legislature, that is the House of Representative, and the House of Senate as well? And what does this say about the government overall performance? The reaffirmation of 56 lawmakers. Let me start with you on this one, Mr. J. Mawolo. Talk to us about this development.
Well, it's sad that the president and his party have to go to this extent to try to portray some form of potency. Listen, they say legislators. 90% of the people who were there are fighting for their seat, fighting for their own survival. So they got no clout with the people. The people are not going to vote for them anyway. They're going to kick them out. The rest of them came who were expired representatives who came there. They counted 50 something of them according to what they say, CDC information. They say there were 50 something of them. Fine. It means nothing when 90% of them don't have a life of their own. They're depending, hoping that being there will help them for the CDC to help them get votes. They're gonna lose. 90% of them gonna be kicked out anyway. So it's a waste of time. The second thing is that he talking about the best government. Well, listen, what else do you expect the man to do? If I don't say I am, who is it that I aren't? So I mean, but they say the worst lie you can tell is the one you tell to yourself. George Weah knows that his government is not doing well. George Weah knows that the people are not happy. George Weah knows if they gave him the opportunity, he will run away tomorrow morning. So for him to stand up there and say what he's saying, for me, that's fallacy. And, it can only work in the CDC world, but it's not working anywhere else.
Thank you very much, Mr. J. Mawolo. I have some couple of questions, but I will take the position of the other panelists before I come back to you. And let me hear you now, Mr. Jai Winkin. We are talk to us about the president being endorsed by over 50% of our lawmakers.
That tells you that for most of them, they are doing that to get financial support for President Weah for their own campaign. That's why they are doing it in the first place. They are not in position for the Liberian people. They have been there for themselves. They see that it is their time to be in power. But having said that, I think it is a mockery for President Weah to claim that his government is the best since Liberia was established. The last time I checked, even the 10-year-old girls in the street are prostituting because of suffering. That is not a good country. From the last time I checked, more people have been killed from a lot of things, or people are dying from diseases, from curable diseases. The last time I checked, his own ministers are leaving the country to go for treatment abroad. The JFK is a mongrel. They have only one machine for X-ray or whatsoever. Redemption, rats. The place is smelling, and I can go on and name a lot of stuff where people in Liberia, the Liberian children, they don't get no means from the time we are got to power. Children don't have hope for employment. Girls are selling their bodies for school fees, their pride for school fees. The last time I checked, more than 20 people call me every week for food in Liberia. Friends, relatives. That is not the kind of Liberia that is sweet. The last time I checked, the streets of Monrovia, they are still the same. There is feces around in some part of the city. The last time I checked, the Railway Highway is still ongoing. All the money that they took, the money we have printed. The last time I checked, people are not getting paid. So what kind of country is that? When I was in a jungle village, when Toba was in power, the last time we talked about Toba here, under President Talbot, whether you were in a village, wherever you were, schools were operational, things were very, very fine. But where is a failure. So I will call the Liberian people, do not listen to the so-called representatives and senators who are endorsing WIA. They are doing so because WIA is giving them money. They are in a pocket of WIA. So I will say, if you are listening to me, if you want a better future, WIA is not your president. You need to earn your own money. You don't need a patronage system. How can he say he's the best president when he's still hanging on to the patronage system where he goes around distributing money, doing things as though the money is his? That is the Liberian people money. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jawinkin. And you also said some things that I have a question for you to clarify or build on. But let me take Reverend Adi first, and then I will come back to you guys with my question. Reverend Adi, talk to us about that endorsement and President we are claiming to be the best, having to be the president of the best government since 1847.
Well, certainly the Liberian people have now been able to visibly see the people who have been sitting down on their prosperity, those senators and our president. That statement he made is indicative of delusion of grandeur. It simply reflects how divorced, disconnected, insensitive this president is to the current plight of his own people. That in the midst of poverty, he regards himself as the best government. In the midst of poor health care, poor sanitary conditions, harmonization of civil servant salaries, not getting paid on time, and he claims to be the best. Tells you how insensitive, uncaring, unpatriotic he is concerning the very people he's leading. Now, he also said in that statement that he is the change. He's absolutely right. He has been the change for his own life. And those senators who endorsed him, what is the change? A man that squandered his entire wealth, and the Liberian people trusted him with their future and hoped in him, but he dashed their hope and built his hope that indeed Liberia can be a country for George Weah to enjoy. And that is why he's built 48 houses. That's a definite change. That is why they cannot account for the $25 million, the $11 million, the $16 billion, which portion of that money remains unaccounted for, the $48 billion that they've printed. Certainly, the Honorable George Weah is the change that only he alone can believe in, that he will come to power and build 48 houses in 6 months of his presidency. So yes, he is truly the change for himself, not for the Liberian people. And it is a pity, it is a mockery that he does not have any inkling of empathy for the very people he wants them to give him 6 more years. It's embarrassing, and I'll stop here.
Thank you, Reverend Adi. Let me ask you a question. You talk about the president. Now, I want you to speak to the 56 lawmakers that endorse the president, and also speak to their constituents, and also speak to the entire legislature. If over 50% of their members can support a government that you described in the way that you described it, what does that say of the legislature? And how would you talk to the constituents of those 56 lawmakers?
You know, on one of the other platforms I spoke on, I said to them, my fellow Liberians, those lawmakers are your representatives. But you need to ask yourself, are they truly representing you? By virtue of the fact that you are a civil servant, Your pay was cut, and you have to pay transportation to go to work. The market women who buy their goods and end up taking it back home because society is not able to purchase it. To the parents who have to decide how many children they can send to school. Is that the change that you hoped for in George Weah, who you truly believed in? And I said to the teachers, the intern doctors who strike the other day, those representatives and lawmakers represent them. But was that the reason why you voted them? Are they truly representing you as they are endorsing poverty, poor quality healthcare, poor education, poor infrastructural development, corruption, extrajudicial killings? Is that what you elected or your senators to endorse? A nation that you are a spectator in as opposed to a participant in your economy? Are you satisfied with mediocrity, where they give you a bag of rice during elections and after they are elected, they don't look back at you again? Liberians, civil servants, market women, Zogos, are you happy that $13.9 million was promised and the international community gave you $2 million according to Zoga Wilson, but you have not seen any of that money? Is that the change you hope for? Absolutely not. And we who are talking on these different panels is because we want you all to wake up and see the reality that you deserve better as Liberians. I grew up in the war. I saw Liberia's best days as a young man growing up. But what we have now is a nightmare. And I'm sure you didn't vote for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend Nadi, and thank you for speaking that passionately to the constituents of those lawmakers. Now, Mr. Mawolo, let me come to you, and I want you to talk directly to the entire legislature. And also, I would like to piggyback on something you said when you were giving your position. You spoke of so much certainty when you said 90% of those lawmakers will be removed come October 10th. I want you to speak more on that, and I want you to talk to our audience about the entire body, the legislature. I know it is where most of our laws that will benefit or hurt the or constituents of those lawmakers come from. Can you talk to us, and with reference with this or endorsement in mind? Can you talk to us about that body, the legislature? Can we trust them overall, because this is over 50% of their membership?
No, we can't trust them. That being out of the way. Listen, what I said 90% of them, and I hope it's 100% of them, because the question they can't answer: what have you done for me lately? What have you done for the people you represent? You see, these people don't even know their job description. So they've been holding a job 6 years and they don't know what the job description is. You know, they go around billing, they say billing some quasi roads and markets and all that kind of stuff, and think that what their job is. What policies have they put in place to make these people's lives continuously better? None. What have they done to better the schooling, the hospitals, the clinics in their areas that they represent? None. What have they done to even better the sanitation in their area, in their communities? None. But yet they come back to the people and ask them to vote for them to go another 6 years. I think it's wickedness at its highest degree, and I speak simply because when I'm on these networks, I want everybody to understand. It is wickedness at the highest degree that these people will have the nerve and the audacity to go back in front of the very people who they've exploited for 6 years and mistreated and abused for 6 years, to ask them to give them another 6 years. And they go and pile up to the CDC headquarters because that's how they got voted in. People were doing popular voting. And so they voted for everybody who was on the ticket. Now, this election, we doing our best to open the eyes of the people that they will vote for competency and not popularity. They will vote this time for competency and look for the best, most capable person to change their lives and their livelihood. These people are less than tissue paper. These people should be useless like a penny with a hole in it. These people have done nothing in relations to what they're supposed to be doing as legislators. Neither do they even care for the people that elected them thus. So I say they don't deserve another chance. They don't deserve to go back. And I hope and pray, and we will do all we can, that 100% of them be kicked out of that legislature.
Thank you, Mr. J. Mawolo, and we have also exhausted time for this segment, but I would like to take you last, Mr. Oja Winkin Wea, and you can do this on a minute. I would appreciate it. You said one of the reasons for which 56 lawmakers will endorse the president, especially given his bad performance, in your words, is due to financial support for their individual campaigns. Now, my question is: these people has been lawmakers for the past, or let's say six years, or for the past few years. Why would it be? Why would they need financial support now for the campaign? And also, if you can just bring this, just summarize everything we have talked about on this endorsement, what it could mean for the body, the legislature, and also for those 56 lawmakers. I know Reverend Addy and Mr. Jim Maolo earlier touched on it. But Mr. Jawin, if you can do that on our minute, I appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, sure. Like the presidency is powerful in Liberia. It controls most of the resources. I said what I said because I spoke to some people who are in government that said, like some lawmakers that said that we are burdens and stuff like solar panel and the communication tower, all the kind of stuff. We are helping with some equipment to care to their constituency. That's how I get to know. As president of the country, businesses can give weird stuff that the representative cannot get from a business person. But to call matters short or to put it in perspective is that this is the situation in Liberia where the presidency is seen as a seeming god. Everything is around him. Even when the president is coming, the ministers, the directors, everybody goes to the airport to meet the president leaving their job. That needs to end. Liberia, those who are in power are working for you. Do not worship your leaders. They are your servant.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ja Winkin. We are into all of you panelists for your contribution on this topic and the other topics that we have talked about. And just to close on this, the president said in his endorsement that this in the endorsement ceremony, I'm sorry, this government is the best government for you because it has built more hospitals, roads, and provided more scholarship than any other government. Now, if you're watching us from Liberia, you're in the best position to decide or to determine if this president words are accurate. So you live there, you live through the regime, you live through the government of President where you firsthand has witnessed the outcome of this of his leadership. So you are in the best position to determine as if that statement is accurate. If you're watching us from the diaspora, you too, I'm pretty sure you send support to Liberia based on the feedback you're getting out of Liberia. You too can also determine if the president is accurate or not. But come October 10th, this year, you will tell us if you agree with the 56 lawmakers that endorse the president or if you do not. But it is very important that we keep the president words in mind. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for your contribution tonight on the show. When we take a break, when we come back here, we will bring you the icebreaker round and some announcement from our announcement folder. But before we do that, we will of course take your closing remark. But for now, let's take a very brief break. Again, this is the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Galley. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're here. You're still here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network. You're watching the Hard Zone. We are at the end of this episode 10, season 3. We just have our icebreaker round and the closing remark from our panelists, and then we will bring you the announcements. So, why don't we jump right into our icebreaker round and have our panelists back on the screen. If you're watching us, you can participate in this segment, the icebreaker round, by leaving your take on the icebreaker question in the comment section, and we'll make sure to highlight that on the show. But for now, the icebreaker question we have here: what is your definition of successful? So, what is your definition of successful? Is the icebreaker question, and leave us your answer in the comment section, and also, please don't forget to share the program on your individual social media pages. The show is the Hard Zone. There's no gimmick, no fluff, just real talk. My name is Derek Yale, and this is the Liberia Radio and Television Network. So let's get to our first panelist to give us their take on this icebreaker question. What is your definition of successful? Mr. Ja Winkin, let me take you first on this one.
Well, I would say to be successful, number one, you have to project something in your mind that you want to do with timeline, and you should also be able to measure whether what you projected has been achieved. And if you were to do it for someone, the person should have the means to internalize how does that change the person's life. So in terms of success for government, if you were to announce that you will do this, if you give a timeline in 6 months' time, your people supposed to see it. That this was done in 6 months' time, and how does that impact their life? If that is done, then you are successful.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ja Winkin. Let's take you very briefly, Mr. J Mawolo. What is your definition of being successful?
To be successful, you must have been able to accomplish to benefit. That is success. As pertaining to a government, you must have set a certain goal, a certain bar that you have attained and succeeded, and not only have you attained, but you have surpassed. That's success. Where the receiver is satisfied with the result. That's success. Have we been successful? Has this government been successful? No. Now, speaking in the sense of a country, there is no way everybody will be happy for anything. Let's get that clear. But the basic principle of what is needed, their minimum needs should be met. That would be success. But when none of those, not even close, have been achieved, you are a failure. I was at a radio station in Liberia, and they asked me, if you were grading this government, what would you give them? I say F. And the guy said, oh, so you said the government didn't do anything? I said, no, I didn't say they didn't do anything. I said they made F. And to make an F, you got to have taken a test. If you took the test and you failed, that's an F. And I think that's what's happening with us, with this government. The fact that the people who came into power wanted power and they didn't know what to do with the power. They didn't know what power looked like or felt like, but they wanted it. And when they got it, it overwhelmed them. So until now, they're still trying to figure out what is it that they got in their hands. And so, of course, at that point, you cannot be successful because you still lost.
Thank you, Mr. J. Mawolo. Now let me take you, Reverend Addy. What is your definition of being successful?
This is my definition of success. And I'll read 2 Peter 1 through and 4. It says, according to his divine power, hath given unto us all things that pertain to life and godliness. All things that pertain to life and godliness. Through the knowledge of him that hath called us to glory and virtue. Whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these ye might be partakers of divine nature, having escaped corruption, that is the world, through lust. So oftentimes the world will define success as the acquisition of material, education, among several other things. Now God is not against that. But anything absent the presence of Jesus Christ, you're a failure. And you're doomed potentially for hell if your life isn't turned around. But God makes it very easy. You can be wealthy materially, whilst at the same time being spiritually at peace with oneself. So genuine success is true obedience to God, walking in the precepts of his calling, demonstrating love to one another, and living in the peace of God that surpasses all of our human understanding. Yes, we may talk politics, but the truth of the matter is one may have or possess political power void of spiritual direction, hence becoming a dictator because he has no spiritual consciousness to lead. So for me, success is having Jesus and fulfilling that divine calling. Our brothers and sisters can come to know him as well. Even the president too can do the same. And as I close, in Daniel chapter 2, 21 to 22, it says that it is God who raises kings, and it is God who brings them down. It is my prayer, and I sincerely hope that this president will understand this truth and know what success is.
Now, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, was that your closing or your contribution on the icebreaker?
My closing, my contribution, everything.
Okay, thank you very much. Because I was gonna come to you next. Now, let me take you very briefly, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir. But before, thank you very much, Reverend Addy, for your contribution tonight. Mr. Weir.
Okay, thank you. My fellow Liberians, God is giving us another opportunity. That will be on October 10 to elect our new leaders. God will not come from heaven to vote for you. It is your decision. It is what you have been experiencing throughout your life. I will suggest to you or encourage you to think outside the box. Think beyond what you are seeing on the face value. But after the election, what becomes of you? What is your hope? What do you hope to be? Do you see a leader who will give you the opportunity so that you can redefine yourself, or a country that will allow you to redefine yourself, to realize your dream? You don't have to come to America to realize your dream. Neither in Europe, that can be done too, in Liberia. But in order for that to happen, you need a leader. I know there are a lot of people going around campaigning. This election is not a contest. It's not a queen contest. It's not a popularity contest. It is about your future. It's about what you want to be, what kind of family you want to have. The problem we have in Liberia is not a question of John Brown, but our problem is our refusal to respect the laws on the book. The only way we can change that, you need someone that will put rule of law in place. There will be no development achieved. Your dreams will never be achieved if you don't have somebody in power who respect the rule of law. There is only one candidate in this election that can make sure that rule of law is respected, and that person is Tiawonse Gonglo. So I encourage you to vote right, vote Gonglo to start a new Liberia, beginning with the enforcement of rule of law. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ja Winkin Weir, and thank you for your contribution on episode 10, season 3 of the Horizon. Mr. J. Mawodo, let me take you next. Give us your closing remark
Can
on
you
this
take me
episode.
out because I have to go?
All
Well,
right, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Weir.
ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Liberians, we are again at a point where the decision is in our hands. God, who can pray till the heavens open, God has given us everything we need. But what He commanded is that you go and get it. That means you got to make the motion. You got to move and go and get it. It's there for you. No amount of prayer will think for you. No amount of prayer will get up and go and get it for you. God didn't want that. God didn't want to control your life. He put you in control of that. So as far as you're thinking of what's best, what's in your best interest and that of you and your children and generations to come, it's up to you. We can only inform you. We can only give you all the points to look for. When you go into that ballot box, it will be you, your God, and your pen. We ask you to do it for Liberia. Do it for your children. It got nothing to do with who you like or who you don't like. It got nothing to do with who's been there, who hasn't been there. It got all to do with who is the best, most capable person of putting your life back on track, giving you a better future for you and your children. God will not come down to do that. It is you. If He wanted to think for you, He won't give you a brain. He gave you a brain to be able to think and so use it. We have told you they got three major candidates in this race. You got the CPP, you got the UP, you got the CDC. I suggest to you the CPP headed by Alexander Cummings and Charlene Brumskin. They are the best, most rounded ticket. What you need is jobs and money. Alexander Cummings can do it for you. What you need is security and law and order. Charlene Brumskin will do that for you. The best, most rounded tickets. They got the vision, they got the capability, they got the connections, they got the know-how. If you want your future to be better and brighter, that's the team. You also got the other people. It's up to you to do your homework and choose the best thing possible. I suggest to you the CPP by Alexander Cummings and Charlene Brumskin, and I hope to see you on October 10th doing the right thing before you, God, and your pen for your children and generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. J. Mawolo and Reverend Adi, for you guys' contribution tonight on episode 10. Now, before I take leave of you guys, before we go for our last break and then bring you the announcement bring you announcement from our announcement folder, I would just like to highlight the fact that I think Now, it is fitting that our icebreaker round focus on the definition of what being successful is. And I would like to speak on those of you that will be participating in the election come October 10th, 2023. And as you may know, that the definition of success is one that is relative. For business, it could mean profit. For student, it could mean getting a passing grade and eventually graduating. On a personal level, it could mean setting a goal and achieving them. So for the elections, I will hope that you have a very successful elections, and that will depend on the goals that you set now. So I will also hope that your goal will be whatever is affecting you right now, that you will pick someone that's in the best position as far as competence and experience is concerned to achieve that. Whether if you are now not in school because you cannot afford the tuition, or your children are not in school because you cannot do so, because you cannot pay their tuition, I will hope that your goal will be is picking a candidate that will be able to make education affordable for you. If you are catering to ill parents at home because you cannot afford hospital bills, or your child or children are suffering some medical conditions that you cannot afford to send them out of country or afford the hospital bills in country, I hope that your goal will be is picking a candidate that will be able to make provide quality medication for you, or healthcare for you. And if you are facing the issue of say drinking water and the issue of all of the things that you're personally experiencing, I will hope that your goal will be picking a candidate that is best, that is in the best position to solve those problems. So with that being said, I will wish all of you a very, very successful elections, and I hope after October 10th, 2023, you will be successful determining on your pick. With that being said, thank you guys so much for joining the High Zone tonight. My name is Derek Yali, but before I take leave of you, stay with us after the break. Let me bring you the announcement from our announcement folder. So I will see you after the break with our announcement.
Hi, my name is Martha Tomley, owner of Matisia Natural Hair Salon, located on 4405 Chestnut Street. We are specializing in locks, natural hair, braids, and etc. Call us for all your natural hair needs. You can reach out at 267-703-2330. If you have pictures or videos you want to send us, you can send it to 267-224-0693.
Welcome back. My name is Derek Yale, and you're still here on the Liberia Radio and Television Network watching the Hard Zone. We are at the end of the show, so this is episode 10, season 3. And before we draw the curtain, let me bring you the announcements we have in our announcement folder. Starting with the Liberia Diaspora Exchange, or the Liberia Diaspora Exchange Business Meeting. They're asking you to save the date, and that will be on Friday, June 18, 2023, June 18, 2023, between the hours of 5 to 7 p.m. And Minority Center for, I think it's going to be at the Minority Center for Participation and Empowerment, and the address is 2811 South 73rd Street, Philadelphia, PA 19142. And that is the Liberia Diaspora Exchange Business Meeting. And this meeting is also a hybrid event. You can choose to attend in person, or you can do that also on Zoom. Reserve your space now at www.febweliberia.org. And also for more information, you can email fcbweliberia@gmail.com. The next announcement we have here is the Love Renegades of New Life United Methodist Church of Drexel Hill, PA, in collaboration with Immigration Law and Justice of Delaware Valley, formerly JFON, will be hosting the following event. The upcoming immigration clinics seminar is a free consultation, and the time is at 11 a.m. The date is June 24th, 2023, and it's at New Life UMC 2600 Bond Avenue, Drexel Hill, PA. For more information on this, contact Yata Jones or Jacob Collins at the Lovers Renegades. I'm sorry, the Love Renegades at gmail.com. And the number to call here is 215-995-3531. And this number is a text only number. So it's the upcoming immigration clinics. The date is June 24th, 2023 at 11 a.m. The next announcement we have here is actually a job opportunity in the field of part-time temporary program assistance. So the Multicultural Community Family Services is seeking a highly motivated and talented applicant for a part-time temporary program assistant position to support the professional development and consulting PD&C team aids day-to-day operations and office functions. So the duties and responsibility for this position is as follows. You will ensure smooth operations and administration of office commitments, plan and coordinate logistics of all workshops and trainings, including scheduling, registration, and evaluation using Zoom video platform and other internet-based applications. And you also perform administrative tasks, organizing programmatic materials, files, and documents. So that's a job opportunity from the Multicultural Community Family Services in a part-time temporary program assistant. The next announcement we have here is from the CPP USA Convention in Philadelphia, PA. So that is Mr. Cummins, Fixer, and Fix the Fixer, the CPP USA Convention in Philadelphia. So save the date. Between June 30th to July 1st, 2023, the CPP USA will be hosting a convention in Philadelphia. And the venue is I'm trying to read. The June 30th meet and greet at the Akana Hall, 5530 Chester Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19143. On July 1st is the convention at the African Cultural Center, and that is at 2613 South 61st Street, Philadelphia, PA, 19142. And for more information on this, contact Amelia Wright, 704-345-5630. So this flyer will be posted on this network page for more information on that. But again, guys, thank you so much for your time, for being with us. And until next time, I would like to bid you all on a blessed week. Again, this is the Hard Zone. My name is Derek Kelly.
When you chocolate, it bless my baby. Let me freak all you buy with baby. I've been reading you. Chill that cup, I can't believe I'm feeling you. Girl, anything you want to do, we can. I not break up with Carolina, cause I wanna be a lover. And when I see you, baby, my heart just shivers. Cause I know that clip on that center. For your love, oh, I surrender. If I delete my tender, you got me and you know it. Don't stop, girl, what you doing? Hey. Baby, one for me, yeah. Sweet Fatima, go down low, bring it back up. Open your heart when I knock, knock. Anywhere for your love, I will turn up. One for me, sweet Fatima, go down low, bring it back up. Open your heart when I knock, knock. Anywhere for your love, I will turn up. You got me in my feelings, baby, baby. Your body's inviting, baby. You got me in my feelings, baby, baby. Your body is inviting, baby, baby. I want you all for me, my baby. When you wine on me, my baby. Girl, you give me energy I need, girl. Yes, I just can't let it go. You control my mind.